This is Origin Autobot Jazz, a Target exclusive cartoon accurate Transformers figure based off the G1 design with the Cybertronian vehicle mode straight out of the first episode of Transformers. It has a 20-step transformation process and 2 accessories with the Evo Fusion gimmick. Now this is part of the Buzzworthy Bumblebee subline,
You like jazz?
which is under the Legacy Evolution line.
I really like the art of the alt mode they have going on here. I think it looks super sick. Here's a quick look at the side with all the other Transformers, the other side with some awesome artwork of Jazz, and then your basic stuff at the back showing off the Evo Fusion gimmick, which we know by now isn't really a gimmick, it's just a standard toy feature.
Being passed off as a gimmick by Greedy Corporation.
Oh, it's not even tied in. Very interesting honeycomb pattern they got going on. 2 weapons, which I'll show off later. And here is Jazz. It's a very lovely looking figure, and he does look fairly show accurate, and all the colors on him are done fairly well. The head sculpt is also really well done.
Once again, it is accurate to the show.
Although I do believe this is a reused head sculpt from an earlier figure. I feel like the legs on this figure are very bulky back here, as well as the backpack. The backpack is show accurate though, but it wasn't this big in the show. This back piece might shift around a bit when you're messing with the figure. That's alright, just kind of make sure it goes in there. Also, on top of that, seems like I got a few scuff marks over here on my figure and might be hard to see. I'm not sure if that's from when I first transformed it. This might have scratched up against this, or if my figure just came like that. But let's go ahead and take a closer look at the head sculpt. He has a really nice blue visor. The mold on the face is simple as it should be, and the silver paint application looks really nice. The rest of the head is just a black color. You have his horns and vents on the sides.
Are these horns? I don't know. That's the best way I can think of describing them right now.
Down over to the chest piece, this does look really nice. You have the blue in the middle with the Autobot insignia stamped straight on there. Some extra car details on the side with some headlights, a little bit of more car detail. Now this is a faux front piece. It does move up for the transformation and get hidden away in the vehicle mode, and there is some nice blue on the inside of it.
As I was saying though, it is show accurate.
Even when Jazz had his Cybertronian vehicle mode in the first episode, he also had a faux chest piece which did not appear in the vehicle mode. So that's really nice they kept that in.
It does also untap from time to time, especially if you try to move the arms in like that, so just keep that in mind.
Further down underneath, you got some nice sculpt work, not a whole lot going on.
It is missing some paint applications. I'll pop an image up on the screen so you can see. Shoulders, I mean, not a whole lot to say.
You have some ports on the side as well, which is really nice. Some basic sculpt work over here.
Not a whole lot to say about the rest of the arms, except for this section where I think it's really cool that they added in those lines he had in the show. Also, the slot and the hands aren't a full circle, which is interesting. Down over to the legs, looking as blocky as they should be.
We can see some really cool little details inside the legs. These part of the legs are also sculpted really well, and here's a closer look at his feet with 2 different colors of gray. And here's a look underneath the feet. You have 2 ports over there.
In the show, G1 Jazz did have wheels at the legs, but since this is a Cybertronian vehicle mode, there are no wheels. Instead, it's the spoilers from his alt mode. Here he is next to 07 movie Jazz with the G1 colors. This was actually my first Transformers review, and then I was cursed to review Transformers ever since. Also, that redeco does bring out some of the similarities between the figures, mainly in the head and chest piece though. And man, this figure does not hold up over time. This Cybertronian Jazz is so much better. Here he is next to Studio Series Bumblebee, Studio Series Battletrap, and let's do Generation 2 Optimus Prime and the Generation 1 Hot Rod. I do want to reiterate how cartoon accurate this G1 Jazz looks in his robot mode. I feel like even more so than the Studio Series 86 version. And while these are both entirely different molds, a lot of the main differences come in the chest piece. The 86 version has a larger chest piece and more color in the waist and hips area. The legs are also done differently. Also, I'm gonna be honest, I don't actually own the figure, I'm just going off images online.
Articulation wise, the head can move up and down fairly well. He's got a full 360 rotation going to him. You do get a bit of a butterfly joint over here, mainly used for the transformation. These arms can move out to the side. You get a full 360 rotation, bicep rotation as well. No hand rotation, they can only move in and out for the transformation. Standard elbow bend, waist rotation. The leg can move out to the side, it can move forward. This part of the leg can move, and then you can also give him a knee bend, which is kind of difficult to do, but it is there. The legs can also move back that far, and you do get a leg rotation. These feet can move in for the transformation, and you do get a really nice pivot. So here's the blaster he comes with. Some pretty decent sculpt work going to it.
It does look similar to the original G1 Toys blaster, and it is a different color and mold from the Studio Series version.
If you take a look on the other side, there's a peg right there. And then here's a look at his grapple hook, which is 2 separate pieces, and there's not a whole lot to say detail-wise about them. The blaster is just fairly basic. You can just put it in his hand, just like so. And what you do for the grapple hook, you bring in the hand, and you can just place it on there. Another thing you can do is Make sure both of that comes off. This piece does stick in very tightly to the ports, so be a bit wary of that.
But what you can do is place it on the tip of the blaster, and I'm struggling way too hard on this.
And yeah, that's a thing you can do. Don't really remember if this was in the show or not. If you know, leave a comment down below. It's been quite some time since I've seen the original G1 cartoon. And lastly, what we can do with the weapon is this peg that I mentioned earlier goes in here for some weapon storage in the robot mode.
I do wish both of the accessories were the right color. I don't know how hard it would have been to at least cast them in gray plastic.
Now I think the transformation on this figure is really well done. First, we're going to bring in both of the hands, then we can close the feet, turn the head around, take this back section right over here, and then bring it up. And now we can bring this down, and this can be kind of tricky, but we need to tab it in place like that. Once we've done that, we can readjust this, open the chest piece and bring it up, tuck it in under there, and this might undo from time to time, so be wary of that. Now the instructions say to take the grapple hook and place it in here for weapon storage in the vehicle mode, but you don't really need to do that. Now what we can do is rotate the arms to where these are facing down, because these will tab into place in the vehicle mode. Let's bring in the arms over here, and we're just going to leave them there for now. Next thing what we want to do, untab this, which can be kind of tough. Bring that all the way out, so that way we can take this panel out, bring it back down, come over to the other side, do the exact same thing, and like I said, it is tricky, so you will need to apply some kind of force to it, but just be careful not to break the figure. There we go. Now we can bring this panel out and bring it down. Now what we need to do is, let's move this out of the way so you can see it. We need to shift the legs in like that, but we need to do that with this down, so that way it can tab into place. So go ahead, shift the legs in. Bit tricky to do, which is kind of sucky. Now we can tab these in place, make sure this is aligned properly, and then we can tab the doors and this all into place together. It does require a little bit of finessing and some force. Pretend you didn't see that.
Once you've gotten everything lined up, which embarrassingly took me a bit longer than it should have.
Now what we can do is tab the arms in here. And here's a Cybertronian vehicle mode for Jazz. And like I said earlier, you can put this in here, but if you try to take it back out, this piece kind of gets stuck in there, but it's no big deal. All the panels line up pretty decently. They're not perfect, but it's not that big of a deal in my opinion, because this vehicle mode looks so cool. It's a very nice looking vehicle mode and very show accurate to the G1 cartoon. You can place his weapon up here at the top. I love the giant Autobot logo he has on the front. A lot of the nice little panel work and details going on. You can see the vents on the side.
I believe in the show this portion was supposed to be hollow, but I do prefer it this way instead.
Underneath that front chest piece is tucked away really nice. There's some really nice blue tinted windows, and you can see it does have some designs on it. It might be a little bit hard to tell.
And then these bits are resembling of doors. Why would a Cybertronian vehicle mode need doors? Maybe for smaller robots or something. That's my headcanon at least.
There's a huge spoiler at the back.
There's not really a whole lot of detail in the vehicle mode, which I mean does make sense.
One thing I don't like is the undercarriage for the arms they have going. I feel like that really does kind of ruin the aesthetic of the vehicle mode. But here's a quick look at the rest of the underside. It does look very compact and clean.
You have two ports on the back of the vehicle mode for effect pieces.
It is a pretty glossy and shiny looking vehicle mode.
I would say it does look aerodynamic. I know nothing about aerodynamics though. I just know cargo room.
Now for size comparisons,
here he is next to 07 movie Jazz, and there's a hair over there.
Here he is next to Rise of the Beast Bumblebee,
Studio Series Wheeljack from the Bumblebee movie, also known as the better looking Wheeljack, and the original Armada Hotshot because he was already transformed on my desk. It is unfortunate about these scratches and that little bit of blue paint spillage over there, but overall this is a really nice figure. Huge thank you to all my patrons who support me on Patreon, and make sure to check out my last video review of the Rise of the Beasts Wheeljack, and subscribe for more Transformers and non-Transformers related content.